When you're starting out, the one question is, what should I sell? Everyone's looking for shortcuts, hoping to be told the secret product. But the truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. To build something lasting, you need research, not random advice. Why generic tips don't work. Number one, any tip posted publicly quickly loses its effectiveness because it's already widely adopted. Success comes from carving your own lane, built on your unique insights. Number two, research and innovation come from passion. Being told what to sell often leads to quick wins that don't last. To truly succeed, you need a genuine interest in your market. It fuels the drive to uncover long-term opportunities. Why research matters and the power of expertise. Many dive into eBay reselling with a just start mentality, but often they end up chasing trends or diving into overcrowded markets. Why? Because they didn't take the time to develop the expertise to spot real opportunities. Research isn't just about collecting facts, it's about understanding the market, finding gaps, and laying the groundwork for long-term success. Proper research helps you see where demand exists and where it isn't being met. It's not about guessing, it's about building a solid foundation that leads to sustainable success. By developing expertise, you can spot opportunities others miss, create products with real potential, and avoid making costly mistakes.
No matter where you get your business advice, at some point, somebody is going to tell you that you need to either develop expertise or acquire profound knowledge in any given field. So while that sounds really nice, but the issue is that nobody really gives you actionable steps of how to go from A to B. So that's exactly what we're going to change today. I'm going to introduce to you guys a new framework that will give you actionable, practical steps to acquire that expertise that we're looking for. So how to go from nothing to actual expertise. So here's what we're going to do. First, I'm going to tell you to pick a passion, any passion, because if you're going to do any type of business long term, there's going to be a lot of steps involved. It's going to be boring. So it better be a topic that you really care about or you don't mind studying up on. So there's many ways to pick your passion, right? The best would be to suggest, some of your hobbies or things of your strong suit, things that things that you're good at. It could be from a previous job. But if you don't like your previous job, then definitely you don't want to do that. So another way of choosing your passion that I think would be very helpful is if you were to imagine yourself at a mall or at a supercenter, such as possibly a Walmart or a Target, where's your favorite sections to shop in the mall or the supercenter? Where could you spend more time than you could anywhere else in the stores? And that could be your passion topic. So what you want to do is that if nothing jumps out at you immediately, I would recommend that you even go to websites such as eBay or Amazon and just pull up the category selection and start to scroll through it. Because honestly, even though I think it's really funny that sometimes people drop videos on which categories are good and stuff, but honestly, all those categories are there for a reason because somebody is making money in those categories, and that's why they even exist. The question is, do you even care about those categories? Because once you do, then you're going to have a certain drive in order to make it in that field, and that's what's really important. All right, so in this framework, we're not going to get too specific yet. We're just going to work out some hypotheticals. It's just a walk in the park for us. And essentially what we're trying to do is filter out ideas that aren't worth our time to pursue before we actually commit to them. So now, once you've picked your category, I want you to get specific on it. You have to start doing a niching down process. And what that means is that, a category is way too broad. There's way too many things to just pick a category and that's it. So we have to go into the subcategory and then the subcategory of the subcategory to get more specific. Now from here, maybe we'll want to go ahead and decide for 2 to 3 items for ourselves. And the reason is because maybe the first item is not going to work out. So we need a couple of backup items. Now, what I want you to do is before spending a dime, before lifting a finger, Just imagine what it would be like to sell that product or a similar product to it. What would the logistics be like? How much would it probably cost to start up? You don't have to fully be able to answer these things now. But the more you're interested in it and the more likely that you're able to do this, then we'll dive deeper and deeper. But right now, we're just going through some hypotheticals. Maybe the item is very good item that you know about, but it's very difficult to ship and probably not worth the headache. So this is the area that we spend a lot of time just in our minds thinking about the product. Now we want to define a backup product just in case that one doesn't work out. And now we want to write down all the hypotheticals that we decided on and try to move forward with something reasonable. This is just the whole walk in the park setup. You might have to go back to the drawing board a couple of times, possibly even go as far as choose a different category. But essentially, you get the point that we're just going to think about the item first and not commit too much to it. Now, once you've decided on the item that you're willing to work with realistically, I'd like to introduce you guys to a concept called 4 lenses of scrutiny. It's actually very straightforward, but people don't really consider products this way. And you really should, because if you look at things through the lens of the seller, the buyer, the reviewer, and the scholar's lens, you'll have a very profound knowledge basis in order to make your judgments of the market. So the first 3 lessons are very simple and straightforward. It would be looking at the item through the perspective of what the seller sees, what the buyer sees, and what reviewers are talking about. The scholar's lens is where it gets a little bit deeper, where you're trying to get the fundamental knowledge or the mechanics of exactly what your item is that you're working with. So step 2 is to begin the light dive of our item. Once we understand exactly the 4 lenses of scrutiny so we can see things from different perspectives, we're going to start off with the seller's lens. So just go ahead and start shopping for the item that you're trying to do, and then see what sellers that you come across, what people are currently doing on the market right now. And then we move on to the buyer's lens. The buyer's lens is basically probably some reviews of what people are saying, what their pain points are, what they're talking about the item, and what their experiences is, just to get a rough idea of the market and what is happening. Then we will go over to the reviewer's lens. When you go over to the reviewer's lens, you can see which items are the most popular ones, which models that is the most popular ones that's probably being talked about on places like YouTube right now. And from there, what we want to do is make a decision. And this decision is whether or not we're going to go into the deep dive portion. You can see that I intentionally left out the scholar's lens over here because that is where we're going to be spending the bulk of our research. So if everything looks promising, go ahead and move forward. If not, then we have to start this process all over again before we commit to anything too deep. So this is step 3, where we're actually going to commit to a deep dive. And you can already see that the first step over here is the scholar's lens. This is where we conduct that deep research, right, of exactly how the product works, the fundamentals of it, the mechanics of it, the constructions of it. Because later on, we're going to need this information to understand the how of our product, not just the what and the why. So once you have that scholar's lens, it's time to start revisiting all the other perspectives that we originally just took a slight glance at. So the reviewer, we're going to review the reviewer based on the profound knowledge that we've developed. So now when you think about what happens on YouTube and other reviewer pages such as, Gizmodo or CNET, there's a lot of people out there who are just presenters, who are just influencers because they get good commissions on the things that they're talking about. But then there are people who are actually trustworthy. And without the scholar's lens of having profound background knowledge of the fundamentals and the mechanics of our product, we can't differentiate who's who. But the good thing is that once we are able to differentiate who's who, we have a go-to source of trustworthy reviewers for us to check out every now and then so that we could always see exactly our product from the lens of excellence. You got to understand that many reviewers out there, they're kind of jaded because they get sent stuff for free all the time. They don't have to review this. They don't have to review that. They get way too much stuff sent to their door. I personally used to be a reviewer myself, so I know exactly what it feels like. I get a new package at my door possibly every 3 days. And basically, I can't even keep up with the amount of reviews that I have to put out for the amount of items that show up on my door. So what happens is that when we see things from the lens of excellence, look, when you're going to commit into business and doing a product long term, then eventually, possibly one day, your item would be sent off to these reviewers for review, or they'll just buy it off of eBay or Amazon or wherever they found it just to review it because the item is so popular. And from the get-go, in the beginning, we've already prepared for this because we know exactly what reviewers are looking for. And if they're wowed by the product and they leave us a glowing review, this is going to boost our visibility so much more in the future. So it's good to know this stuff right now and be prepared for it. Now we're going to revisit the buyer's lens. And just as I wrote it over here, now that you have the real research and the knowledge of the reviewers, right? Does this change how you see the customer's needs? Like originally, we read a few reviews about what people are complaining about. So we have a direction of, is there any gap in the market that we can work with? But now, after we have the scholar's lens and a clear view of the reviewer's lens, does it change anything of our buyer's lens? Then it's the most obvious at the end, which is to revisit the seller's perspective. You see, if you're going to get into this market, all the sellers that you are scoping out right now is going to become your future competitors, aren't they? So therefore, can you take any strategies from the top sellers? That way, when you start selling your item, you could hit the ground running with a clear understanding of the market, what other people are currently doing, and what needs are currently not being met in the market. Spotting those gaps in the market is what's going to give you that business opportunity. So here, I intentionally zoomed out a little bit because I wanted you to see the whole staircase process. So from the light dive and then the decision point, you can see that they actually connect to each other like so. So what you want to do is lightly review your item through the lens of the seller, the buyer, the reviewer. Then when you're ready to commit, get that scholarly knowledge, right? And then start to revisit all these perspectives backwards. Start with the reviewer first, then the buyer, then the seller. Once you have this whole framework done and you've done the research for this and you can see the market clearly, now it would be time to move on to actual innovation.
To recap, 1. Passion, profitability, and value creation. Passion drives success. Passion keeps you engaged and motivated to refine your ideas over time. Without it, your work will lack the persistence necessary to succeed. Passion fuels innovation when you're invested in your niche. Creating market value. Your product needs to solve a real problem or meet an unmet demand to succeed. Value is about offering something people need, not just what you're passionate about. Passion plus market need equals profitability. Worth your time. The product you choose must justify the time, energy, and resources you'll invest. A successful business needs a product that aligns with both your passion and the market demand. 2. The role of research and innovation. Research fuels innovation. Innovation alone isn't enough. Research identifies market gaps and customer pain points, ensuring your innovation addresses real needs. Research, passion, innovation. It's the combination of both that generates real value. Research gives innovation direction and purpose, ensuring what you create truly aligns with market demand. I'd like for you all to take this self-assessment test. Research isn't just about gathering information, it's about how you interpret, analyze, and apply it. The difference between struggling sellers and those who build sustainable businesses isn't luck. It's the ability to make informed, strategic decisions. A lot of reseller gurus love to talk about developing expert knowledge, but let's be real. The bar is set way too low. Memorizing which shoes flip for the most money isn't expertise. Knowing how to read a market, analyze data, and create something sustainable, That's expertise. And that's why we're doing this self-assessment. This isn't about making you feel good. It's about ensuring you're actually building something with long-term potential. So be brutally honest with yourself, because if you're not, you're only cheating yourself. This test isn't here to judge you. It's here to show you exactly where you stand. You might realize you've been operating on gut instinct instead of real data. Maybe you've been executing without a solid foundation, or maybe you're further along than you thought. Wherever you land, the goal isn't to label yourself, it's to recognize your gaps and what you need to work on. So answer honestly. No egos, no excuses. Let's get started. Each section has 3 questions, so the maximum score possible is 15 points. Scoring system. 1 point for yes, 0 points for no. Scoring and placement. If most of your answers are no or not really, you're a beginner. You've been running on tactics, not strategy. If you can confidently say yes to at least half, you're proficient. You've done some real work but still have gaps. Answer these questions honestly and place yourself on the spectrum: novice, proficient, or expert, with room for in-between stages. Market understanding. Can you accurately identify supply and demand trends within your niche? Do you understand what makes a product succeed or fail beyond just its sales numbers? Can you predict future market shifts with a reasonable degree of accuracy? Data analysis and critical thinking. Do you rely on solid data instead of just intuition to back up your decisions? Can you assess competitors beyond surface-level observations to gain deeper insights? Can you filter out misinformation and recognize flawed business advice? Product and supplier evaluation. Do you know how to determine the true quality of a product beyond just online reviews? Can you differentiate between a factory, a trading company, and a middleman in your supply chain? Have you successfully built direct relationships with reliable suppliers? Business model awareness. Do you understand the inefficiencies of reselling arbitrage or dropshipping and why they aren't scalable? Can you articulate why private label, white label, or direct sourcing is superior to reselling models? Do you understand the fundamental difference between building a business and just making sales? Balancing execution and strategy. Did you prioritize research and development before jumping into execution? Have you ever developed effective solutions to overcome past business difficulties? Do you have a long-term business strategy to safeguard against injury, sickness, or aging? For beginners, 0 to 5 points. You're still focused on tactics rather than strategy. Your next step, learn to analyze markets, assess suppliers, and start making sense of the data. For developing sellers, 6 to 7 points. You've got some experience but need consistency. Apply research actively, focus on data over gut instinct, and improve your sourcing and competition analysis. For proficient sellers, 8 to 10 points. You're making more strategic decisions and building a clearer vision. Focus on long-term planning, product development, and nurturing supplier relationships. For advanced sellers, 11 to 12 points. You're building sustainably but need refinement. Focus on optimizing systems, enhancing efficiency, and gaining a deeper understanding of competitive advantages. For high-level operators, 13 to 15 points, you understand strategy and execution at a high level, but there's still room for refinement. Focus on strategic scaling, proprietary advantages, and long-term growth.
While you're deep in research, it's the perfect time to start saving up capital. This isn't just about having money, it's about being strategic and planning ahead. By the time you're ready to produce your product, having the funds ready will make the process smoother. To make saving easier, consider using a money-saving challenge binder. If you're not keen on buying one, you can create your own using a card wallet or a collectible card sheet, stashing away a little each day. Remember, the goal is to have the capital ready for when we reach the development phase, to pay the factory and agent. Let's start this process now, so we're prepared and set for success.
Moving from research to innovation. Now that you've assessed where you stand, remember, this is just the beginning. Research is the foundation, but innovation is what transforms your business and sets you apart. It's not enough to simply gather knowledge. You need to apply it strategically to start solving problems and building something that lasts. Understanding the market gives you clarity, but solving real problems gives you the edge. The difference between a struggling seller and a thriving business isn't luck. It's the ability to take insights and turn them into action. So, where do you go from here? Use what you've learned to refine your approach, spot opportunities, and create something that stands the test of time. Research sharpens your vision, but innovation is what brings it to life. Let's turn these insights into action and start building something that will last.